Komura is a shameless simp who's in love with a shy girl who has bad eyesight. However, when he finds out that she keeps forgetting her glasses at home, he offers to help her but ends up rizzing her up so they can get freaky. It all starts with Komura rushing to school because he can't wait to see the girl he's in love with, the four-eyed Mi. As Komura settles down, he stares hard at Mi, hoping one day those thick glasses will finally be used to notice his existence. However, the next day, he's shocked to see that Mi forgot her glasses and seems to be upset. Suddenly, Mi turns to him and greets him for the very first time, explaining that she can't see anything, including his ugly face, so she's pretty much helpless. Komura wonders how her blindness didn't get her isekai'd by Truck Kun on the way to school, but he decides to help her for the rest of the day. At this, she asks him which of her textbooks is the history textbook, but when Komura tries to check, he freaks out at how close he'd be to her face and offers his textbook instead, as he shakes like a leaf. Mi moves her chair closer to Komura so they can share, but Komura worries he'll stain his trousers and insists she use it herself. Unfortunately, since he can't provide a reason why, they end up sharing. Komura tries to play it cool until Mi starts getting even closer, so she can read the words in the textbook. Komura finally cracks and forces her to use the textbook alone. He figures Mi will probably forget all about him by the next day and plans to cherish the textbook he lent her and study it with tissues at night. Suddenly, Mi gets up close to his face as if she wants to kiss him, but she actually just asks who he is. When Komura introduces himself, she recognizes him as her neighbor and takes note of his name, making him so shy that he loses focus for the rest of the class. After class, Komura heads to the lockers, where he finds a confused Mi wearing his shoes. Mi apologizes and explains that since she's blind but isn't a Marvel superhero, she couldn't find her shoes and kept checking lockers until she found something similar. However, Komura isn't upset because seeing Mi's feet in his shoes activates his feet kink, and he immediately wishes he were the one she was stepping on. Mi then tells him her locker number, and when they check, he realizes there was a frog on them, which is why she didn't recognize them as hers. Komura worries that the frog might become his competition if it asks for a kiss, so he quickly gets rid of the frog and hands Mi her shoes. Once they both get into the correct shoes, they start to head out when Komura notices that Mi didn't tie her shoelaces. He then offers to tie her shoes when he notices his eyes are at the same level as her skirt and quickly has to think of his grandmother to keep any stiffies away. Suddenly, Mi thanks Komura for helping her all day and gets up close to see his face again so she doesn't forget it. Unfortunately, all she can see is her eyelashes, so she tells Komura to show her properly next time and walks away. That night, Komura wishes Mi would forget her glasses again, though he feels bad for making such a selfish wish. But to his surprise, the next day, he overhears Mi tell her friend that she broke her glasses and is back to being blind. Later during gym class, Komura feels bad for practically cursing Mi to lose her glasses, so he stands in front of her so she doesn't get hit during dodgeball. Mi then grabs onto him for protection, but the idiot gets paralyzed immediately and taken out by a ball. Later in class, Komura struggles to stay awake when he notices Mi's head buried in her book again, which inspires him to be a serious student until she rolls over and he realizes she's deep in sleep. Just then, the teacher notices and calls on Mi to get up. But Komura raises his hand and insists that Mi is just looking really closely at her book because she can't see. The teacher buys it because he's not paid enough to buy anything else, but Komura still has to figure out how to wake Sleeping Beauty up. Just then, Mi wakes up confused and accidentally calls Komura daddy. Komura realizes she's probably still half asleep, but as he tries to correct her, she collapses on his shoulder, making Komura's sus dreams come true. Unfortunately, the teacher smacks Mi to wake up because he doesn't get paid enough to afford love either. The next day, Mi comes to school without her glasses and starts staring hard at Komura's face again, making him red. However, just when he thanks God she can't see him blushing, she reveals that she's wearing contact lenses and finally got a good look at his face. The next day, Mi and Komura are on lunch duty together when she starts serving enough stew for the students to swim in. Komura asks to take over serving the stew, but she says she'll see it through. So he tells her to go easy on the stew, and she takes it out on the next unlucky student. After this, Mi says she can't wait to taste some of the stew, making Komura ask if she loves stew. When Mi says she does, Komura thinks they're finally bonding, but they get interrupted by a fatso, who shows up asking for more meat. Mi then says she can only give more potatoes, so she gives the foodie a spoonful of meat and apologizes for refusing his request. When they were done serving, Mi handed Komura a tray of his lunch and whispered in his ear, saying she deliberately kept some meat for him, to repay him for his help the other day. While Komura gets excited about this, she tells him to keep it a secret, but unknown to her, everyone in the room heard. Shortly after, when Komura sits to eat, he realizes his plate is filled with potatoes, but he eats on since it's the thought that counts. The next day, when Mi shows up looking like Garfield on a bad day, Komura points out that she forgot her glasses again. After blaming herself, she reaches into her bag and takes out a pack of contact lenses. While Komura checks them out, Mi says she hates how they float around and says it's traumatizing to remove them. However, she tries to put them on, but gives up halfway, saying her eyes are getting teary. Quickly, Komura jumps to his feet and screams for the entire class to hear that he'll protect her. Surprised, Mi points out that it was weirdly intense, but when she thanks him, Komura's mind gets blown out of this world. The next morning, Mi shows up in class with her glasses on, but since she's frowning as usual, Komura wonders if she's got family issues. After she greets him, he asks why she's squinting when she's wearing her glasses, and she says the weather made her glasses foggy. When Tokita, another four-eyed creature, walks into the class with foggy glasses, Komura figures it must be a lot to wear glasses. Just then, Mi mistakes Tokita for a stranger and tells Komura, but he informs her that it's Tokita, their classmate. Mi then says she didn't recognize him because she couldn't see his eyes. After this, she wonders if people can recognize her too, but Komura assures her that they do. So, Mi says it's fine as long as Komura recognizes her, and while her words replay in Komura's head, she reminds him that they're switching classes and leaves. Later, Mi asks Komura for his contact details, and he gladly says he would share them 1,000,000 times. However, when she tells him to chill out, he asks why she wants his contact, and she explains that she might need his help someday, since she's got a brain more porous than SpongeBob's. Surprised, Komura asks why she can't ask her family instead, but she says she feels embarrassed with everyone but him. Hearing this, Komura jumps off his seat, feeling over the moon, while Mi explains that he's seen her at her worst and she'll have to depend on him. Some days later, Komura gets a text from Mi, asking him to meet up at a station, and the shock of this throws the idiot off his bed. When he arrives at the station, he finds Mi waiting for him without her glasses on, so he hurries over to meet her, and she apologizes for dragging him out. When he asks if she forgot her glasses, Mi says she fell asleep on the train and lost her glasses when she got off. Hearing this, Komura says she's just not cut out for wearing glasses, but Mi says she has to be somewhere and asks Komura to take her there. Since it'll be his first time in a date-like situation, Komura feels his balls tickle and agrees to be her guide dog. However, when she grabs his hand, he freezes in place. When they arrive at their destination, they both sit as Mi orders a piece of cake while explaining that she was so determined to satisfy her craving. While her broke date sits there, admiring her cute love for cakes, Mi duels with the plate using her fork. At this point, Komura figures she's trying to locate the cake, and when Mi says it's difficult to eat, he offers to feed her. When he realizes how that sounds, he tries to retract his offer, but Mi can't wait for him to shove it in her mouth. After wondering if he should visit her parents to ask for her hand first, he starts feeding her. Afterward, they head to the glasses shop, and Mi reveals that she ordered new glasses since the old lenses don't match anymore. Shortly after, Mi tries on her new glasses and says she can see clearly, but Komura starts feeling useless immediately, so he turns and wonders if he should saw off his hand and preserve it in a museum. He then thanks Mi and turns to leave, but she grabs him and asks if he's rushing. In response, Komura says he's free, so Mi says she'd like them to spend more time together since she can finally see him clearly. Surprised, Komura's cheeks start glowing bright red, so he looks away before he melts under her gaze. After spending the rest of the day together, Mi bids him goodbye and heads home, leaving him to pinch his cheek to check if he's dreaming. Meanwhile, on her way home, Mi thinks of Komura and realizes she was staring at him all day. The next day, Mi shows up with a mask and her foggy glasses, so Komura asks if she has a cold. When Mi confirms this, she says it's nothing serious. Just then, some friends call Komura over and start making fun of Tokita's foggy glasses. Although he finds it funny, Komura tries hard not to laugh, and when he returns to meet Mi, her glasses have vanished, so he asks about them, and she says she forgot them. Surprised, Komura tries to ask more questions, but she snapped at him, saying she forgot them. On getting to school the next day, Komura finds Mi meowing in public, and on realizing how sweet she must sound, he takes out his phone to record his cute crush, but stops himself. On looking closer, he realizes she must have mistaken a white plastic bag for a cat, since she forgot her glasses as usual. Komura then figures she'll be embarrassed when she knows it's not a cat, so he joins her in the foolery. Just then, Mi touches his hair and mistakes him for another cat, but on looking closely, she discovers it's Komura. Later, Komura arrives in class and finds Azuma, the cutest boy in class, helping Mi find something in her bag. Watching them get all cozy together, Komura's eyes almost pop out of their sockets, so he quickly turns around and asks himself why he's getting angry because Mi is being friendly with some other dude. Just then, he overhears Mi thank Azuma, thinking it's him. Azuma then clarifies that it's him and asks her why she thinks he's Komura. In response, Mi apologizes and says that Komura is her errand boy, so she got so casual with him, thinking he's Komura. While he stands there, staring like a broken game character, Mi glances at him, making him freak out. The next day, when Mi shows up without her glasses, her friends ask her why she keeps forgetting them. And Mi says it's not deliberate. So one of her friends says her face will soon get wrinkled from constantly frowning, while the other chips in that she looks scary when she frowns. So, Mi heads to the restroom and stares at the mirror while thinking of her friend's comments. Afterward, when Komura arrives in class, Mi hears his voice and turns to face him without frowning. Suddenly, the entire world around Komura vanishes in a few seconds, but then she goes back to her default mode and says she just tried not to frown, but it's hard to see. However, Komura spends the rest of the day spaced out and replaying the scene in his head. The following day, Mi asks Komura to play a word game with her since she keeps losing when she plays with her friends. But the idea of trading words with her makes Komura want to flood his pants, so he gets tense. When they start playing the game, Mi notices Komura is going easy on her, so she tells him to feel free to bully her. Afterward, the game gets so intense they draw everyone's attention in class. After school, Mi and Komura carry out cleaning duty together and say she thinks the floors are clean, since her eyes only work as aesthetics. Meanwhile, Komura feels good slaving away as long as she's there with him, although he wishes the other students would just vanish so he can step up his game. Suddenly, Komura spots a cockroach creeping near Mi and figures that since she can't see it, she'll panic if he tells her. So he calls her and tells her to come close to him. But as she leans into him, another student spots the cockroach and screams. Immediately, Mi grabs Komura tight, asking where the cockroach is, but the poor dude struggles to stay alive. The next day, when Komura arrives at school, Mi greets him and says she forgot her glasses again, but Komura points out that they are on her forehead. Surprised, Mi reaches for it, but ends up dropping it. So Komura quickly picks it up and says it's not broken. After this, Mi says she had no idea it was on her forehead, so she closes her eyes and pouts, making Komura wonder if it's a green light. However, he stops thinking with his sausage and puts the glasses back on her. Just then, Komura's hand touches Mi's hair, and he suddenly blows a fuse upstairs. Later, some girls at school talk about delivering a letter and run off, but unknown to them, they have dropped the letter. So Mi shows up and somehow manages to see the letter on the floor. When she picks it up and tries to bury her face in it, Komura shows up, so she explains that it's a letter and she can tell who wrote it since she's got stones for eyes. So Komura checks the envelope and realizes it's a love letter addressed to Azuma. Mi then asks what's in the letter, but Komura says all he can see is that it was addressed to Azuma. Quickly, Mi takes the letter from him and heads off to find Azuma, while Komura dashes after her. Shortly after, Mi finds Azuma and hands the letter to him with no explanation, making him think it's from her. While Komura panics because of this, Mi heads back to her seat, while everyone thinks she's got the hots for Azuma. So Komura takes the walk of shame into the class, feeling like he's lost everything. Meanwhile, Mi wonders what's up with the weird vibe from everyone in the class. So some girls approach her to ask if she's also crushing on Azuma. Hearing this, Komura glances at them, expecting Mi to clarify that it's a misunderstanding, but she says she likes Azuma, shocking the entire class. Komura, on the other hand, tries to give the L word another meaning in his head. When Azuma heads out to read the letter privately, Komura follows him and peeks to see his reaction after reading the letter. Suddenly, he spots Azuma laughing and starts feeling like a loser, since he's not good looking enough to compete with Azuma. On getting back to the class, he sees the girls still trying to recruit Mi into the Azuma fan club and wishes they'd just vanish. Later, while Komura thinks of how to clear the misunderstanding, he wonders if it's actually a misunderstanding, since Azuma is the Giga Chad any girl would like to have. While he broods in silence, Mi pokes him and asks why he's crying, but Komura fakes a smile and says he's fine. He then asks Mi how she feels about Azuma, and she says she likes him, making him wonder what kind of like she meant. However, when she adds that she expected people to ask if she likes him, Komura lights up and asks her why. In response, Mi says she has become attached to him and confesses that she likes him. While this replays in her head, Azuma shows up with a reply, and when she takes it, she hands it over to Komura to read for her. Since Komura dreads the contents of the letter, he slowly opens it and finds a message saying that he likes Mi too. Shocked, Komura watches Azuma leave to clear the misunderstanding and feels grateful for the assist. Mi then asks him what's in the letter, so he says Azuma thanked her for delivering the letter. Some days later, the weather is cold, so Komura decides to get some coffee, but bumps into Mi at the vending machine. She then says she's trying to get some warm cocoa because of the cold. Hearing this, Komura figures she must have given up on glasses and asks if she can recognize the cocoa drink. In response, Mi says she'll be fine, but she ends up picking black coffee instead, so Mi asks Komura if he drinks black coffee. Meanwhile, the idiot is mind-blown by the fact that her lips have touched the can. While he hesitates, Mi asks if he doesn't like it and decides to drink it herself, but Komura takes the drink. After realizing he'll be hard all week if he goes through with the indirect kiss, he confesses that he doesn't like the drink. The next day, Komura rushes to school since he was up all night doom scrolling on the hub, but he suddenly spots Mi rushing to school too. Quickly, he catches up to her and greets her, but she responds, thinking he's some senior citizen taking a risk with cardio. When they arrive at a crossing, Komura realizes her hair is a mess and sees her skirt folded up behind. Quickly, he looks away to avoid nosebleeds and tells her about it. Mi then apologizes and fixes up, making Komura realize that she still thinks he's a stranger. Mi then comments on her messy hair and says she doesn't want Komura to see him looking like the aftermath of a tornado. Hearing this, Komura gets mind-blown and collapses at the crossing while Mi rushes to school. Later in school, Komura helps Mi walk to the nurse's office, while she apologizes for spraining her ankle and breaking her glasses. When Komura recalls her doing warm-up exercises, he suddenly remembers Azuma screaming for him to take Mi to the nurse's office and wonders if he's rooting for him. Just then, Mi apologizes for being heavy and explains that she's gained weight, surprising Komura, who then wonders why she's worried about her looks. But then, he looks at her and sees her impeccable face card, so he decides he'll die on her mountain, even if she gets as heavy as a sumo fighter. At the nurse's office, Komura tells Mi to lean on something and goes to get her a chair, but he turns and sees Mi standing on a weighing scale. So he says she shouldn't be standing there, but notices the scale measurement at its limits. Just then, Mi realizes she is standing on a scale, so she tells him to forget what he saw. Sometime later, Komura finds Mi straining to reach a poster on the notice board, so he asks what she's up to, and she says the teacher asked her to change the document on the board. Pissed at the teacher, Komura tries to help out but realizes he's a few inches short. Out of nowhere, Azuma shows up and replaces the document easily. So Mi thanks him, thinking it's Komura, but Azuma says it's him and walks off, leaving Komura feeling like a useless waste of space. Sensing this, Mi asks if he's fine, and he says he wishes he got more inches from his daddy. However, Mi says his height is just right for her since it's how she recognizes him, and adds that she likes seeing his face. While she leaves, she sadly says he'll soon grow taller, but Komura wishes he would stop growing. Afterwards, Komura spots Mi reading a book with teary eyes and wonders if she's heartbroken. While he wonders if he should pry, Mi reveals that she and her friends found something in a book that made her laugh to the point of tears. Relieves she wasn't heartbroken. Komura smiles to himself until he realizes he has never seen her laugh. He then wonders what she looks like when laughing and regrets not being in class to see it. Some moments later, a girl notices a heart-shaped cloud in the sky and calls everyone's attention to it. But when Komura glances at Mi, he finds her squinting to see it, and even during classes, she tries to see but can't. So later that day, Komura sent a picture of the cloud to her, making her happy. The next day, Mi is sure she brought her glasses but can't find them, so she wonders where she put them. Somewhere else, a girl named Somiya calls Komura to ask if a pair of glasses she found belongs to Mi. Instantly, Komura recognizes them and confirms that they are. So Somiya says she found them on the bathroom sink and puts the glasses on him. Suddenly, Komura feels dizzy and almost falls, so he leans into a wall, unconsciously pinning Somiya to the wall. Coincidentally, Mi arrives and sees them, but wonders who they are, until Somiya asks Komura if he's trying to pound her into the wall. On hearing this name, Mi rushes over and pushes Komura away. During the weekend, Mi and Komura head to the glasses store, and she thanks him for accompanying her. She then explains that she's trying to change the frame of her glasses, and since her dad is unavailable, she needs him to help her choose. However, when Mi starts trying on the glasses, they all look good on her, so Komura finds himself complimenting her all the time and berates himself for this. Suddenly, he starts racking his brain for something better to say, but Mi interrupts him and asks if he's okay. After assuring her that he's fine, Komura explains that she looks good to him regardless of what she wears and apologizes for being useless, so Mi chooses her usual frame design. The next day, she shows up without her glasses and explains that she wore her new glasses to sleep, and they snapped, making Komura think he has to start making money to take care of her. Sometime later, Komura heads out on an errand and spots some wrapped gifts outside a gift shop. Just then, he realizes it'll soon be Valentine's Day and loudly wishes Mi would gift him. Surprisingly, Mi shows up behind him and asks if he just mentioned her name. Shocked, Komura freaks out while Mi says it's a coincidence running into him. She then asks if he's shopping, and when he confirms this, he realizes she's not wearing her glasses even outside school. So he asks why she left home without them, and Mi says she'll be okay since she's familiar with the area. Just then, Mi points out that he said something about her gifting him. But Komura stands there staring like the glitchy robot, since he can't tell the truth. Suddenly, Mi notices their surroundings and asks why everything looks red. When Komura still keeps squeezing his brain for ideas, Mi says maybe they're renovating. Relieved, Komura figures she's clueless about what's going on, so when Mi says she's heading to a supermarket, he goes with her. In the supermarket, Komura starts feeling like a married man and thanks the gods of plot for cooking up the coincidence. Just then, Mi calls Komura's attention to a stack of Valentine's Day gifts, and he suddenly gets tense. This then reminds Mi of his comment about her gifting him, so she asks him what he wanted from her, but when Komura's brain starts twitching again, a shop attendant asks if they'd like to have a taste. So Komura quickly changes the topic and tells Mi that they're giving out free samples. However, when he turns to check, he realizes the shop staff is sharing chocolates, and since it might remind Mi of their unfinished conversation, he tries to stop her from going. However, Mi approaches the attendant and tries out one of the chocolates. So Komura quickly grabs a pack and pulls Mi along, but when he realizes they're holding hands, he drops her hand and apologizes. Mi then says his hand is warm, unlike hers, which is cold, and adds that his cold hands are perfect for making chocolates. Curious, Komura asks if she's making chocolates, and when Mi confirms this, she adds that Valentine's Day is coming up. Suddenly, she figures that's why everything around looks red, but Komura tries to divert her attention again. But this time, Mi asks if he was saying he wanted her to gift him chocolates. Hearing this, Komura panics, thinking Mi has realized that he's crushing on her, but while he prepares to bear it all out, Mi says she plans to give out chocolates to her friends. So when she says she'll give him some too, Komura feels relieved but starts wondering if he's been friend-zoned. Finally, Valentine's Day arrives, and Komura watches Mi give friends while patiently waiting for his. However, he soon starts worrying about being in the friend zone, but Mi shows up and reaches into her bag for his chocolate. Unfortunately, she finds the bag empty and says she thought she kept some for him. Mi then apologizes and takes her seat, looking troubled. Meanwhile, Komura figures he'll have to wait till the next year and wonders if he'll still be in the friend zone by then. Suddenly, he thinks of confessing his feelings to Mi, but chickens out. While he battles his inner trolls, Mi calls Komura to ask if he's free after school, but he keeps staring like a dummy. After school, Mi explains that she plans to gift him something else, since he's her friend too, but Komura tells her not to worry about it. Despite this, Mi says she doesn't know what to get for him, so she gives him a chance to ask her to do anything, and she'll do it. Shocked, Komura freaks out, and after a brief silence, he decides to shoot his shot. Suddenly, his tongue ghosts him as he struggles to remember pickup lines he learned on from Grok. After a while, he gives up and says he'll tell her some other time when she can see his face. Hearing this, Mi says she'll have to stop forgetting her glasses then, scaring Komura to bits. Afterward, Mi finds a chocolate in her pocket and says it was supposed to be her snack. She then gives it to Komura as a friend's chocolate while he appreciates her cluelessness. Later that day, Mi checks her weight at home and can't believe she's now a heavyweight champion. So the next day at school, while Komura prepares to gift Mi for White Day, Mi shows up looking high as a kite and greets him. Curious, Komura asks why she looks down, and Mi says she skipped her morning cocoa. She then explains that she got many chocolates on Valentine's Day and feasted on them, only to step on the scale and get the biggest shock of her life. So she asks Komura to stop her if she gets on another binge-eating rampage. After agreeing to help her with this, Komura figures he won't be able to gift her anymore. Just then, Azuma shows up with his White Day gift for Mi as payback for gifting him on Valentine's Day. While Komura is hating on Azuma for this, Mi comments on how good the snack smells, but she decides to distract herself with a cough drop. She then reaches into her bag for it and ends up picking a cookie. Quickly, Komura tells her it's one of the cookies she just got. In response, Mi says it's a mistake since she forgot her glasses. Some hours later, Komura figures Mi must be hungry already and remembers her request, so he decides to keep his promise. So when he spots Mi trying to eat a cookie, he stops her. Shortly after, Takeda also shows up with a gift for Mi, and she quickly grabs one of the chocolates to eat. When Komura catches her this time, she again says she mistook it for something else. Afterward, Komura figures she's doing it on purpose and tries to make her stick to her resolution. But when Mi ignores his warning and tries to eat the cookie, Komura offers her his gift and tells her to eat it instead. Surprised, she asks if it's for White Day, and when Komura confirms this, she eats it and thanks him. The next morning, Komura arrives in class and finds Mi staring at a card, and when he greets her, she tells him she filled up her point card for sweets. After this, she explains that she needs to go to a post office to send it after school before it expires, but since the closest one is in an area she's never been before, Komura offers to take her there after school. Excited, Mi takes him up on his offer, but then, Some guys in class ask Komura to hit the new arcade after school with them. At first, Komura gets excited and says he'd like to go, but turns them down when he remembers he has plans with Mi. Unknown to Komura, Mi overheard the conversation, so she says she'll go to the post box alone and tells him to go home after school. Worried, Komura points out that she's without her glasses, but Mi says she's wearing contacts. Later during class, the teacher asks Mi to read from her book, so she stands with her face buried in her book as she reads. Shortly after, she pauses, and Komura suddenly realizes it must be because the character has many strokes. At this point, he realizes for sure that she couldn't see and decides he'll dump his friends to go with her after school. Quickly, Mi skips the character by coughing, and the teacher lets her off the hook. Afterwards, they have to switch classes, so Mi's friends ask if she'd like to go with them. But she thinks about how helpless Komura thinks she is, so she says she can find her way and rushes off. While her friends wonder if she's sane, Komura's friends ask if he'd really be passing on the games at the arcade. At first, Komura gets excited about the games, but when he thinks about the bat he's crushing on, he turns them down again. Meanwhile, Mi arrives at the wrong classroom, and when she feels bad for herself, she figures she has no choice, since she can't let Komura ghost the rest of the world because of her. Just then, Komura finds her and pretends he missed his way too, so she suggests they head back together. Initially, Mi says she didn't make a mistake and claims she can see, but when Komura points out that it's easy to mix up the classrooms, she admits that she couldn't see and didn't want him to worry about her. Hearing this, Komura figures she's pretending because she's being considerate. Mi then says she's always happy to have him around her and can't help wanting to have him for herself. Mind blown by this, Komura starts skipping again, so Mi assures him that she won't take him for herself and adds that she'll go to the post office alone. However, Komura says he's worried and insists on going with her. After school, Komura recalls that there's a post box at a convenience store, and after they drop the card, Mi asks if he likes arcade games. In response, Komura says he likes how he can play without being disturbed. After Mi leaves, Komura realizes that Mi could have gotten her glasses since she lives close to the school and wouldn't have needed him. Thinking about it, Komura realizes he wants her all to himself, too, but tells himself that peasants like him don't deserve anything good. After this, he quickly leaves to link up with his friends at the arcade. In the following weeks, the school year ends, and Komura realizes how quickly time flies for him when he's playing games with his friends. Suddenly, he realizes he's getting older and figures it must be why his lower back is retiring before him. Just then, he glances at Mi and takes consolation in the fact that they're in the same class. Then, a teacher announces that they'll be handing out perfect attendance awards. Surprisingly, Mi and Komura make a list, and as they move and approach the stage, Komura overhears some guy talking about Mi's glare. Just then, he realizes that, unlike him, who has gotten used to her glare, other students must see her as a grump. While he thinks of doing something about it, Mi comments on how scary it is because all eyes are on them. On seeing her cute face, Komura thinks she might look a little relaxed if she becomes less tense. So he tells her that massaging certain areas on her palm can help relax her nerves. So Mi offers both of her palms and asks him to try it out on her. When he starts rubbing her palms, Mi says it tickles and asks him to go harder. Hearing this makes Komura's little man twitch, so Mi points out that he looks more nervous than her and suggests he think of something fun, while explaining that it makes time fly fast. Just then, he gets called on stage, and when he gets more nervous, she shuts his eyes and starts thinking of his memories with Mi. After she gets her award and joins him on stage, Mi says she looks forward to the next year. The next day, it is time to decide seating arrangements, so Komura worries about who will sit next to Mi and hopes they'll be able to help her when she forgets her glasses. Surprisingly, Komura gets the same seat where he sat the previous year, and when he glances at Mi, he realizes she's sitting somewhere else already. Suddenly, Azuma stops beside her with his furniture, and while they talk, Komura figures Azuma will help her out, but tries hard to ignore the jealousy. While he tries to control himself, Mi asks Azuma where he is sitting, and when Azuma tells her, he starts wondering how to act. On seeing Azuma laughing with Mi, Komura wishes he could knock the alpha male vibes off him. Just then, a girl shows up and says that Mi is in her seat. So Mi checks her seat number and realizes she's mistaken, and when Azuma tells her what the correct seat number is, Komura wishes he could jump in between them. To make matters worse, Azuma holds Mi's hands and tells her where to sit. Seeing this, Komura overheats, so the girl sitting next to him asks if he needs some water. When Mi finally sits next to Somiya, Komura feels relieved, assured she'll help Mi out. When Mi glares in Komura's direction, Komura introduces himself to the girl next to him, and she introduces herself as Hibuchi. Just then, Somiya asks Mi if she's looking for something, but she says she's found Komura. Meanwhile, Komura starts acting weird, so Hibuchi asks if he needs to see the nurse, but he says he's fine. While Komura keeps wondering when Mi will glance back at him and worries she'll get in trouble for being distracted, Hibushi gets up and approaches Mi to ask if she'd like to swap seats. Immediately, Mi jumps at the offer, and when she arrives beside Komura, he points out that she needs to be in front. However, Mi says she'll get caught easily when she starts dozing off in class, making Komura realize how much he has to learn about her. In addition, Mi says she'll get into trouble if she keeps glancing back during class, making Komura struggle to believe she was looking back to see him. Sometime later, in the art room, the teacher decides to pair the students up and have them draw up portraits of each other. As expected, Komura gets paired up with the love of his life, so while he pushes his wacky artistic skills to the limit, Mi says she's doing her best despite forgetting her glasses. Komura, on the other hand, thinks he'll treasure Mi's drawing even if it turns out to be a monkey. Just then, Mi moves closer to see Komura well, but since her eyes don't work, she asks if she can draw him from her imagination. Since he'd like to see what she thinks of him, Komura agrees, and moments later, he can't believe how cute Mi imagines him to be. Just when Komura says he's going to mint the artwork, the teacher shows up, saying she'll be collecting them all. Some moments later, Somiya runs into Mi in the restroom, and to confirm it's her, Mi leans in closer, explaining that she forgot her glasses. Just then, Somiya notices and points out that Mi has long eyelashes. So she asks if she's using extensions, but Mi says she doesn't. However, when Somiya starts acting like someone who enjoys rubbing clams together, Mi backs off and tells her not to look too much. The next morning, when Komura shows up in class, she leans in to confirm it's him, and when this reminds her of her Somiya in the restroom, she backs off and apologizes, leaving Komura surprised. Some days later, Komura rushes home after school, clutching his bag like a drug-dealing newbie. On entering his house, he shuts the door, feeling like he brought Mi home, since her glasses are in his bag. Some minutes before this, while Mi packed her bag in class, his friends showed up and suggested they head home together. So she zipped up her bag and left with them, forgetting to pick up her glasses on the table. A few moments later, Komura entered the classroom, and when he saw it, he realized Mi must have forgotten to pick them up. After spending a century wondering if he should touch them, he texts Mi to inform her about it. In response, Mi tells him to leave it there, but since it'll be there over the weekend, Komura says he's worried they might break and asks if he could take them home. So Mi tells him to take them home. Back in real time, Komura realizes how useful the glasses could be to his late-night wrist workouts. So he heads into his room and sees his mom cooking, but when she notices him acting like a first-time offender, she asks if he's alright. In response, Komura says he'll be in his room for a while, making his mom blame his hormones for his weird behavior. Some moments later, Komura stares at the glasses on the revered spot where he put them and tells himself that he's just keeping them safe. After a while, Komura starts having daydreams of Mi in the room with him. Since he can't focus, he pulls out some tissues, but since he's out of baby oil, he picks up the glass using the tissue and tries them on to help his imagination of her. Meanwhile, while Mi reads with her spare glasses, she tries to clean them and suddenly wonders if the glasses she left with Komura have any fingerprints or anything. In Komura's room, he's covered in sweat as he finishes cleaning Mi's glasses and tries to calm himself down, since it's just a pair of glasses. Just when he decides to return to his life, he gets a call from Mi. When he picks up, Mi thanks him for taking care of her glasses and asks if they're dirty. Before Komura's response, Mi assumes he couldn't have looked at them closely enough to know and apologizes for being a weirdo. After this, she says that hosting her glasses must feel like hosting her at his place. This suddenly triggers Komura's imagination again, so he starts seeing Mi in his room. After the call, Komura struggles to go to bed, since everywhere he turns, he finds Mi there saying sweet things to him. Sometime later, Mi arrives in class without her glasses, and when Komura greets her, she leans into him. While Komura thinks it has become a habit, since she does it without reason, Mi suddenly trips and falls into him. After this, Mi apologizes, while Komura freezes from the shock. She then narrates that she once bumped foreheads and lips with someone when she leaned in too close. Hearing this, Komura freaks out, so Mi quickly clarifies that it was with her dad when she was a kid. While Komura figures she must have seen how flustered he was, Mi begs him not to see her as a baddie and takes her seat. Just then, Komura figures she was flustered too, but convinces himself that it means nothing. Afterward, Asuka enters the class and tells Mi that she has a bedhead, suddenly disrupting her default settings. Despite checking a mirror, Mi says she can't see it since she's not wearing her glasses, so she says she'll go check it in the restroom, but Asuka reminds her that class is about to start. When Asuka says it makes her look cute, Mi doesn't believe her, and while Komura wonders why she's bothered about her looks when she's a cutie, Mi asks him if her hair looks weird. In response, Komura says she looks good. Later, Mi notices Komura grimacing, so she asks if he's alright, but Komura says his shoulder hurts. She then says that her dad once gave her good reviews for giving the best shoulder rubs. Hearing this, Komura realizes where it's headed and says he's fine, and wonders what effects Mii's hands might have on him. However, Mii insists she's really good with her hands, so Komura caves in, and when she goes to work on him, he tries hard to keep calm. When she's done, Komura thanks her, and when she returns to her seat, she writes in a note. Surprised, Komura asks what she's doing, and she explains that she's taking notes of things she could do for him without her glasses, since he's always doing things for her. On hearing that, she says she'd do anything when she's with her glasses. Komura wishes. Sometime later, on a rainy day, Mii runs into Komura on her way to school and says she tries hard not to forget her glasses, especially on rainy days. Curious, Komura asks if it's harder to see on rainy days, and Mii confirms this and says she'll just have to keep her eyes forward and walk carefully. On taking her first step, Mii lands in a puddle, surprising Komura. On getting to class, Mii feels uncomfortable because of her soaked socks, so she tells Komura to look away, and when he does, she takes off her wet socks and puts them in a plastic bag. She then says she's done and adds that she'll thrash the wet socks later, but Komura was mesmerized with the view of her legs, so he looks away. Surprised, Mii says he can look at her now, but Komura says he'll be watching the rain fall for the rest of the day. After school, Komura heads home, but stops when he spots Mii sitting on a swing in the playground. While he wonders if she's having a personal time, Mii spots him, so he heads over to meet her, and she explains that she's waiting for her mom because she forgot her keys. After this, Mii asks Komura to push her on the swing since it's been a while since she did that. On getting behind her, Komura starts looking for safe spots to touch. Eventually, he pushes her back, and while Mii enjoys the swing, Komura starts worrying about other boys seeing what's under her skirt, so he suddenly stops the swing. Curious, Mii asks what happened, and while he tries to explain that the wind might lift her skirt, she looks up at him. Seeing their faces inches apart, Komura freaks out and moves over to the empty swing while Mii explains that she's wearing shorts underneath. The next day, while they're moving tables around in class, Komura's App Store card falls off, so Mii picks it up and checks it. Scared, Komura worries she might think he is a loser who spends his entire savings on game microtransactions. Curious, she asks what it is, and Komura explains that it's an Apple Card, but since she has no idea what it is, she hands it back to him. During lunch, Komura feels bad for not explaining in detail to her, but tells himself that exposing her to the culture of social media games isn't healthy for her. Suddenly, Mii offers him a slice of apple, but Komura returns it to her. Later at night, Komura gets a call from Mii, who called thinking he's Asuka, and says she doesn't know where the washroom is. When Mii speaks, and she realizes it's him, she apologizes for calling late and ends the call. Komura then calls back and says he'd like to help however he can. So, Mii explains that she's sleeping over at Asuka's house and couldn't find her glasses, so she's trying to find the washroom and can't find her way in the dark. Komura then asks if there are no light switches nearby, but Mii says that her ribbons got stuck. While he thinks of the ribbons on her pajamas, Mii asks him to sing her a song since the sleepover was a horror movie party. Just then, Komura starts singing the school anthem and suddenly overhears his mom heading to the bathroom, so he pretends to be asleep. Meanwhile, Mii wonders if he's sleeping, and shortly after, he whispers to tell her he's still up. He then says that he accidentally muted himself and asks Mii to use her phone torch. When she puts on the torch, she finds the washroom and tells Komura that she'll be muting the call. After she returns to the room, she apologizes to Komura for disturbing his sleep, but the idiot says he was awake when she called. Just when he wishes they could talk till daybreak, Mii says she's going back to bed. Afterwards, while Komura thinks about the ribbons on Mii's pajamas, Mii cuddles her sleeping friend. The next day, at the pool, Komura realizes Mii forgot her glasses again and wonders what people who wear glasses do at the pool. Just then, Mii takes out some swimming goggles, and while Komura ogles her, a guy near him tells him he's staring too hard. Just then, he notices Asuka whispering in Mii's ear, and as she starts laughing, Komura feels embarrassed. Some days later, Komura steps out of a store and sees Mii munching on a sweet. Mii then tells him not to tell anyone he saw her snacking in public, but Komura shows her a bag full of junk he got for himself. While Mii finishes up her sweet, Komura can't keep his eyes off her, so he notices on the sweet stick that she just won. But just as Mii tries to discard the stick, he grabs her hand. Shocked by his own move, Komura leaves her hand and shows her the stick that she won. On looking closely, Mii says she didn't see it before, and hands it over to Komura before running off. Some days later, Komura sees a cat wandering in school and follows it to see where it's headed. Just then, he spots Azuma talking to a girl under a tree, so he hides behind another tree nearby and wonders what's going on. Just then, the cat starts meowing while he gestures for it to leave, since it's about to blow his cover. To make matters worse, Mii shows up looking for the cat, so Komura panics and thinks of what to do. So the cat heads over to meet Mi, leaving Komura relieved. While Mi plays with the cat, Komura wishes he could be the cat, and nearby, the girl says she has something. Hearing this, Komura realizes how serious the situation is and worries that Mi might make things worse by walking in on them. Just then, he wonders if Mi is really clueless about stuff like that and wishes he could confess to her, too. Suddenly, the cat wanders off again, and Komura freaks out since Mi is following the cat. Quickly, Komura grabs her and hugs her as they both hide behind the tree. After this, Komura apologizes, and after explaining the situation to her, Mi realizes she could have interrupted them. Sometime later, the students are grouped for a field trip, with each group containing 3 to 5 people. While Komura's group discusses places to visit on the trip, since Komura's mind is elsewhere, they manage to bring him back. He apologizes and asks what's up. Just then, his group members point out that he's been distracted the whole time and tell him to go join Mi's group. When Komura pretends to be clueless, his friend says that Mi might forget her glasses as usual, and adds that Komura needs to be around for her sake. Hearing this, Komura realizes he must look like a caregiver to everyone. Komura then worries about Mi and wishes he could join her group just in case. On realizing that each group can contain 6 people at most, the guys decide to join Mi's group for Komura, but he'll have to do the asking. Meanwhile, in Mi's group, Mi is also distracted, so when they get her attention, her friends tell her not to forget her glasses. In response, Mi assures them that she plans to keep a spare pair of glasses in her bag in case. Just then, Asuka asks if she'll invite Komura since she's been staring at him the whole time. Shocked, Mi tries to deny this and says she doesn't want to go with Komura. Coincidentally, he arrives with his group members and is shocked to hear her. Despite this, Asuka tells the boys that they were just talking about merging their groups, since Mi might forget her glasses and might start wasting money when she's in tourist mode. Komura then reveals that they were hoping to join the group, too. And on hearing this, Mi says it would make her happy. Later at night, while packing for the trip, Mi puts her spare pair of glasses into her bag and goes to bed. However, she worries that people think she's forgetful and slow and hopes she doesn't cause problems for Komura and the others. After thinking of Komura, she tries to sleep, but can't because she's too excited. The next morning, Mi shows up panting and apologizes for showing up late. She then explains that she tripped and stepped on her glasses, but just as Asuka worries about her, she adds that she has a spare in her bag. When they get on the bus, Mi takes out her spare glasses and realizes it's a fake pair she randomly bought on their last trip, while her real spare glasses sit pretty in a box back home. Afterward, they arrive at the museum, and Asuka announces that she'll be taking their reports later. Meanwhile, Komura observes Mi and figures she can't see the exhibit well enough to write the report. When he figures she must be wearing fake glasses and was only pretending, Komura thinks of how hard she tried not to forget her glasses and decides to help her. Suddenly, Mi trips, and Komura quickly grabs her, but because of where his hand touched, his head starts overheating. After this, Mi apologizes and says she got dizzy, but Komura quickly changes the topic by showing Mi a model she can easily see. Surprised, Mi asks if he knows she's wearing fake glasses, and he admits that he does. So she feels bad about forgetting her glasses, and Komura tries to make her feel better. In addition, he reveals that he likes being helpful to her, but wishes he didn't when he realizes how weird that sounded. So Mi thanks him and chooses a model to write a report on while telling him to take a look around. Komura then walks away, knowing that Mi is trying to push him away. Just then, Asuka arrives and suggests they get going, so Mi follows her, lost in thought. Shortly after, Mi realizes she's been walking with students from another school, so she apologizes to them and hangs around until Komura shows up, since she had texted him when she got lost. While Komura gets excited that she still has a use for him, Mi says she got lost while lost in thought, and says she must have caused him more trouble. Quickly, Komura tries to debunk this, but Mi breaks down in tears, complaining about how she keeps depending on him. While she sobs because of this, Komura flashes back to his memories of her and reveals that he wishes she would forget her glasses every day. Hearing this, Mi stops and asks why, so Komura moves close to her and explains that he likes being of help to her. Later on the bus, Komura thinks Mi must hate him now and won't talk to him because of what he told her. Just then, Mi says he's too nice and touches his hand, making his head warm up. While he marvels at this, Mi says she can't believe he's happy that she's causing him trouble and adds that it made her happy, so Komura figures he's wrong about her. The next day, Mi thinks about Komura's words and figures he must have said that just to cheer her up. Suddenly, she decides she can't keep on depending on Komura, so she gets out her pack of contact lenses. When Komura arrives, he greets Mi and is about to apologize for what he said on the trip, but Mi says she'll try not to depend on him. She then reveals that although she forgot her glasses again, she's wearing contacts, so Komura heads to his seat and tells her not to stress herself. Later, Mi's friends notice her closing her eyes, so they ask if her eyes hurt, but she says she's just thinking. Just then, Asuka advises her not to force herself to wear contacts and asks why she's suddenly bothered about forgetting her glasses. While Asuka states that Komura likes it when she depends on him, Asuka gets a text from Yasaka and leaves to give him a reply. Excited, their other friend points out that Asuka must be in love. Clearly lost, Mi wonders what that means. So the girl points out that the expression on Asuka's face means she likes Yasaka especially. Afterward, Mi thinks about this and wonders if Asuka wants to be in a relationship with Yasaka. Shortly after, she runs into Komura, who then asks if she was alright with her contacts. In response, Mi says she's fine. However, she confesses that they're bumpy and annoying and admits that she likes it better when she depended on him. Suddenly, Mi reaches for his cheek, making him flustered as she leans in to check his face. Suddenly, she sees the expression on Komura's face, which is similar to the one on Asuka's face earlier, so she freaks out and runs off. On her way home, Mi wonders if she's special to Komura and smiles, thinking it would make her happy. Some days later, Mi shows up in class, and when Komura asks why she's not wearing her glasses, she says that they got fogged up from her cocoa. So Komura asks if she'd like to share a textbook, and she thanks him with a smile that makes Komura wonder why she's been in a good mood recently. When Mi joins their desks, she leans close to his face, making him freak out. He then asks what she's up to, and Mi says she just wanted to see his face. After this, she runs off, leaving Komura confused as he realizes she's also weirder than before. Suddenly, Somiya shows up out of nowhere and asks if he and Mi were just kissing. Some moments later, another lady tries to clear up the misunderstanding by explaining that Mi does it every time she forgets her glasses. Surprised, Somiya asks Komura if he really hasn't kissed Mi, and Komura says she hasn't, so the other girl pulls her away, saying they shouldn't be kissing in school. Meanwhile, Komura realizes everyone in school must think he and Mi are a thing and worries that it might annoy Mi. Subsequently, Komura starts being conscious of people watching them and wonders why Mi is always staring at him. Later, during sports, Somiya tells Komura that she's never seen a romantic scene in real life and asks if he really hasn't kissed Mi. While Komura says they haven't kissed, Mi plays basketball absent-mindedly, so Asuka warns her to be careful, but she says she's fine and ends up tripping over a ball. Immediately, Komura and Asuka rush over to see if she's fine, so Mi explains that she fell because her vision got fuzzy. At the nurse's office, Mi is asked to put a cold pack on her forehead and rest before returning to class. Just then, she thanks Komura for going with her while he wonders if people won't get the wrong impression. When he remembers Somiya's obsession with his love life, his head aches. After this, Mi asks what he does on weekends, and in response, Komura says he does chores, studies, and plays games. On hearing this, Mi asks if he likes coin games, and Komura reveals that he goes to the arcade a lot. After this, Mi tells Komura to allow her to see his face up close whenever she forgets to bring her eyeglasses, since she always wants to see his face at least once a day. Hearing this, Komura's eyes widen as Mi asks if he doesn't mind. In response, Komura says she can look at his face for as long as she wants. Suddenly, Komura realizes how thirsty that makes him sound, but Mi tells him she won't look too much. A few moments later, Mi stares into Komura's face while he shuts his eyes, wondering if staring at his face is that calming, but since Mi seems happy, he decides to play along. Later, Mi helps Komura out with his cleaning duty and puts the brooms back where they belong. On shutting the door, she asks Komura if he's ready to go home, but he suddenly freaks out when he sees that a part of her hair is held by the door she shut. When Mi asks why he's so jittery, Komura explains that her hair is stuck, so Mi tries to forcefully pull it out while Komura stops her. Afterwards, Komura makes a big deal out of cutting the hair. Mi says people have told her to grow her hair out because they like it. She then asks Komura if he does too, but he is too focused to hear her. After he finally cuts the hair, Mi says she'll have to take better care of her hair. Later in class, while Mi tries to pack her hair, she drops her hairband and starts looking around for it, so Komura picks it up. But then Mi asks him to pack it for her. Shocked, Komura says he has never done it before, but Mi states that there's always a first time for everything. Shortly after, Komura starts brushing her hair in class, asking if it hurts, but Mi simply laughs and tells him to calm down. When he finishes, Mi checks out herself in the mirror and comments that he's pretty good at packing hair, so he thanks her. However, when Mi says she wishes it could be like that every morning, Komura asks if she's talking about doing it at school, but Mi says she's not talking about school, leaving Komura puzzled. Sometime later, the students stay in school to prepare for a cultural festival, and while Komura does his work, Mi shows up asking if she could help. In response, Komura tells her to wash her hands first since they're covered in ink. While cleaning her hands, Komura asks her to clean her face too. After this, she asks if he's tired and wants to take a break, but Komura says he will when he's done with his work. Shortly after, he wonders if Mi is sitting with him because she's run out of things to do. So she offers to help with what he's doing, but proves to be a waste of space. So, Komura suggests they do it together, but since she keeps messing things up, he suggests she go back to what she was doing. Displeased by this, Mi tells him to let her know whenever he's taking a break and takes her leave. When Komura runs out of glue, he leaves to get more, but Mi suddenly shows up and says she would like to go with him. However, Komura warns that it's dark in the hallway and tells her to be careful. When they arrive at the art prep room, Mi comments that there's no one there, so she pulls him in and locks the door, surprising Komura. So she says she hasn't had the chance to take a good look at him, but Komura thinks she's about to give him the test her gag reflex on him, so he suggests they do it somewhere else. However, Mi stops him, saying it's better when there's no one else around. Just then, Komura figures it must be why she's getting him to take a break and thinks she must be trying to avoid giving people the wrong idea, so he tells her to go ahead. And while she checks him out, Komura stares into her eyes, and when he starts thinking he might be special to her, he breaks away and tells her that her time is up. Some moments later, when they return to class, Komura's partner asks him what took so long, and Azuma suggests he washes the ink off his face. Coincidentally, Mi's friends ask why her hands and face are covered in ink. So Komura tries to explain himself, but Azuma has no idea why he's overreacting. Later at Komura's house, his mom suggests he pierce his ear for the cultural festival, but Komura shuts that idea down immediately, since he took her advice to dye his hair, and he now looks like a snack flavor nobody wants. So his mom tells him to stop being negative and grow some balls, but he insists he won't be getting any piercings since that swag belongs to cute people like Azuma, while losers like him would do the public a favor by wearing a mask. On getting to school, Komura notices Mi practicing her arch game on the floor and asks what's wrong. In response, she says she dropped something tiny, and after searching for ages, she finally finds the earring, which reminds Komura of his mother's advice. This sends him spiraling into curiosity, as he wonders if Mi has always been into piercings. He can't even remember ever properly seeing her ears. Just then, the teacher walks in to teach, and Komura suggests they share textbooks, but Komura's brain is locked in on Mi's ears. Soon after, while Mi buries her face in the book, Komura leans in, trying to sneak a look, but she busts him in the act while he pretends nothing happened. Later in art class, while Komura tries to get a grip on himself, Mi suddenly shows him her new piercing, making him freak out. But then she reveals she's joking since she has no piercings, so Komura asks why she has beads, and she explains she's using them as eyes for the flapjack octopus she's presenting at the cultural festival. Hearing this, Komura quietly realizes that this cute and creative side of hers is why she's special to him. And unlike her, he's just an empty and boring idiot who shouldn't dare try cool stuff like piercings. Just then, Mi checks out a needle and wonders if it's used for piercings, but Komura warns her not to put it close to her face since it's not a piercing gun. When Mi says she thinks piercings are cute but scary, Komura points out that his family has suggested that he get one, but admits that he's too scared too. Suddenly, Mi grabs his earlobe and points out that he might look cool with a piercing. When Komura freezes on hearing this, Mi says she might be wrong, since she can't see clearly. So Komura goes home checking for piercing ideas for first-timers on Pinterest. The following day, while the students continue with preparations for the cultural festival, Mi complains that she can't stay after school because of her curfew. Asuka then suggests she break it, while Komura listens to their conversation. However, Mi refuses, explaining that if she does, she'll be scolded and won't get her cocoa the next morning. Afterward, Asuka asks for volunteers who can stay back until 7 p.m., so Komura raises his hand, but Samiya suddenly asks again if he has kissed Mi yet. So, Komura tries to avoid the annoying pest, but Mi interrupts and says she can also stay behind until 7 p.m. Hearing this, Komura wonders if she'll really be okay and thinks of a possible reason why she'd want to stay behind. When it occurs to him that she might be trying to walk home with him, he quickly slaps the idea out of his head, surprising the ladies, who then ask if he's okay. In response, Komura says she's trying to wake himself up. Just then, Somiya suggests they handle it like real couples do and rushes off. So Komura suggests they get to work, but as they work, he notices that Mi is awfully quiet. When he asks if she's fine, she reveals she's never stayed at school so late before. Shortly after, Komura starts thinking she should probably head home, but then he spots Mi's phone on the floor. So when he picks it up, he realizes it's full of missed calls from her mom. When Mi starts looking for him, Komura hides behind a curtain, leaving her phone behind for her to find the missed calls from her mom. Seeing this, Mi realizes she's screwed, so she informs Asuka that she's leaving and rushes home, so Komura gets his bag and goes after her. When he arrives at the shoe lockers, he finds Mi struggling to find her shoe locker. Suddenly, she gives up and puts on her gym shoes instead, so Komura grabs her school shoes and decides he has to return them. As he follows her, he desperately tries to come up with an excuse that won't make him sound like a certified stalker, but unfortunately, nothing convincing comes to mind. Suddenly, Mi starts crying in the middle of the road, so Komura feels bad for her. When Mi enters her house, Komura decides to give her the shoes the next day and figures she'll be down the next day. In Mi's house, while she gets scolded for being late and ignoring calls, Komura shows up with the shoes and says he's Mi's classmate. He then claims he accidentally wore them home, which caused her delay, and after he leaves, Mi's mom tells her to get her dinner. Meanwhile, Komura walks home feeling bad but hopes that Mi will get her cocoa the next morning. The next day, when Mi shows up at school wearing her glasses, she mentions that they fogged up while she was drinking her cocoa, leaving Komura excited. On the day of the cultural festival, while Komura reads Mi's diary, some dude shows up and interrupts him. But he gets back to reading it since it's filled with random everyday events that give him a peek into Mi's life at home. Afterward, he checks out Mi's flapjack octopus and instantly melts at how cute it is. When he hears her voice behind him, he quickly walks away before he gets caught going to the octopus. Just then, he notices Mi staring at his work and suddenly feels embarrassed at the bare minimum he submitted. Later, Komura sees Mi heading out and follows her. When she spots him, she asks him to sit with her and reveals that she read his diary and found it very thoughtful. Hearing this, Komura lights up. Mi then pulls him close to look at his face, making Komura nervous that someone might walk in and misunderstand everything. When she assures him that everyone is at the gym, Komura points out that she's already wearing glasses. So, Mi asks if she's being too demanding, but Komura says she's not and asks why she wants to see his face every time. In response, Mi says she finds it calming, but adds that she'll hold back on doing it. Quickly, Komura tells her he doesn't mind at all and confesses that he wants to see her face, too. When Mi tells him to go ahead, Komura gently places his hand on her face and looks into her eyes. After a few seconds, Komura looks away before he melts on the spot. After this, Mi comments that he's like a dad since he acts nice even though she acts spoiled. While Komura wonders if he's now being father-zoned, Mi wonders if they won't get in trouble and suggests they head back. After the cultural festival, Komura glances at a survey about his plan, which they're to fill out, so Mi asks what he wants to be. Shocked, Komura's brain starts buffering when he realizes he has absolutely no dreams lined up. When he comes up with nothing, Mi asks if he's likely to be a gamer, but Komura masks the existential void by claiming it's a secret. Unbothered, Mi says she'll share hers instead and starts scrolling through her phone. Just then, she finds her preschool graduation album, where she wrote that her dream was to become her dad's bride. When she shows him the picture, Komura immediately short-circuits. He then asks how old she was at the time, while silently thinking he needs to be arrested for reacting like that to young Mi's picture. Feeling embarrassed, Mi says she won't be showing him anything else. So, Komura asks her about her dreams, but she says she'd like to own a fish, making Komura realize they're a match. When she says she'd also like to marry someone that's not her dad, Momura recalls that he's now in the daddy zone and wonders what that means for him. In addition, Mi says she's learning to be a good wife by trying out new dishes. When she shows him pictures, Komura says it looks good, but since he can't see what he'd really like to eat, he asks if she's showing off her artistic skill with the ketchup, making Mi suddenly get upset. Later, at Komura's home, he finds his old preschool album to see what he dreamed of becoming when he was younger. When he realizes he's always wanted to be a drone, it dawns on him that he's basically been a waste of space until he met Mi. The next day at school, Komura writes in his survey that he'd like to be Mi's husband in the future, but when he realizes how dumb that sounds, he quickly tries to erase it, but Mi shows up and spots the word husband. Curious, she asks whose husband he'd like to be, but Komura panics and says no one in particular. Annoyed by this, Mi returns to her seat while Komura asks if she's alright, but she says she's fine. During cooking class, Mi gets paired with Azuma, and while they get along, Komura starts radiating jealousy like a cursed artifact. When Hibuchi asks if he's alright, Komura pretends all is well, but low-key, he wishes he could at least taste Mi's cookie. While he absent-mindedly works with his partner, Komura silently loses his cool when Azuma gets close to Mi. Unknown to him, Azuma is just helping Mi shape her cookie into something like an arcade token. When he comments that Komura would love it, Mi suddenly asks if she said she was giving it to him. Meanwhile, in Komura's group, Hibuchi notices him vibrating like an engine about to self-destruct and wonders if he's okay. Meanwhile, Yasuka comments that the coin might not be a good idea, since he recently ran out of tokens at the arcade and was pissed. Hearing this, Komura gets pissed at his friend for betraying him and tries hard to hear what else they're saying about him. When Mi asks Yasuka if Komura always plays games at the arcade, Yasuka reveals that he goes full Zen mode at the arcade. While Mi wonders if making coin-shaped cookies is a bad idea, Yasuka assures her that it's fine. Just then, Azuma comments that she is slow even with her glasses on, leaving her confused. After this, he shows her the cookie he's making for a girl he likes next door. Curious, Mi asks about the girl, so Azuma admits he has a thing for older ladies and reveals that his crush is a college student and he's trying to get her attention using the cookie. Afterward, when they're done, Mi waves Azuma goodbye while Komura gets sweaty at the thought of losing the only good thing he's got going on. Just then, Mi's friends ask what she was talking to Azuma about, but since he doesn't want to hear her say sweet things about a hotter guy, Komura quickly heads out. However, Mi catches up and grabs his hand to stop him while panting heavily. Just then, Komura hurries off to get her some water, and after she thanks him, she says it's a good thing she had her glass on since she couldn't have caught up with him the way he walked fast. After this, Mi points out that Azuma thinks she's slow even with her glasses on. When she asks Komura if he agrees, he suggests they get going. Just then, Mi puts some cookies in his hands, suddenly lifting his mood as she explains that she wanted him to have the cookies because she thought he might be hungry. When Komura thanks her and takes out the cookie, Mi asks if she's really slow, but Komura assures her that her easygoing nature is a good thing. Later at home, Komura can't stop thinking of Mi's throwback picture and suddenly wonders what he looked like when he was younger. So he digs out embarrassing throwback pictures of himself and blames his mom for taking them. The next day at school, one of the pictures fell out of his book, and Yasuka picked it up. When Yasuka shows it to Komura, he desperately tries to get it back, and Mi shows up on the scene. Yasuka then shows the picture to Mi. After burying her face in it for minutes, she asks what's in the picture. So Yasuka explains that it's a throwback picture of Komura, where he's fallen and was bleeding through his nose. On their way home after school, Mi asks Komura if he'd like to make a stop at the park just for fun. While he complains about it being sudden, Mi says she has to go back home to get her glasses. While she's gone, Komura thinks they might be going on a date, but quickly snaps out of it. When Mi returns, she asks to see his picture, surprising Komura, who then wonders if she invited him just for that. So Komura decides to show her payback for getting hard from viewing her throwback picture. Just then, Komura realizes he must have left the picture back at school, so he promises to show her the following day. Curious, Mi asks why he fell in the picture, and Komura says he was practicing a move. She then asks him to show her, so Komura prays to his ancestors for support. Unfortunately, his ancestors ignored him as he embarrassed himself. Fortunately, on his second try, he nails the move while Mi makes a video of it. After this, Mi runs over and takes a picture of them together while offering to send it to him and telling him not to show it to anyone else. Afterwards, she decides to try a propeller move, but ends up showing off the last thing Komura wants to see, but Komura still springs a nosebleed. The next day, Mi arrives in class with a new pair of glasses, and when Komura points this out, she says they're just fashion glasses she picked by accident. Shortly after, Mi takes off her glasses and asks him to try them on. When he hesitates, she points out that they're not dirty, so Komura slams them on his face immediately. After this, she asks him to take a selfie so she can get a better look later, but Komura says he can't do it in class. So Mi tells him to take the glasses home and checks her bag to find their case. On opening it, she finds her real pair of glasses, so she puts them on and tells Komura to keep them on. Later, Maho shows up and tells Mi that she'd like to try something, so Mi leaves with her. Shortly after, she returns with part of her hair braided, and when Komura sees it, he gets mind blown by Maho's creativity. During swimming lessons, Komura starts ogling Mi again, so Yasaka calls him, but he quickly denies staring at her. Later during lunch, Mi gets some food particles on her hair, and when Komura informs her, she lets loose her hair, making Komura regret telling her. Afterward, Mi sleeps in class, and Komura notices her wet hair, so when she wakes up, he realizes his textbook is all wet because of her. Seeing this, Mi apologizes, but Komura says it's fine. Just then, she decides to tie up her hair, so she asks Maho to work her magic again. On their way home, Mi asks Komura about his favorite fish, and he says it's salmon. Mi then says she likes lump fish, making Komura realize she wasn't talking about food. Just when they're about to part ways, Mi asks Komura about his favorite clothes but tells him not to bother since she'll figure it out. So she waves at him and heads home. But just as Komura is about to leave, a boy approaches Mi, asking if she remembers him. Suddenly, Komura peeks from behind a vending machine to see who the competition is. Mi then says she can't see, and the boy explains that they were classmates in elementary school. Hearing this, Komura figures he has to leave since they're just acquaintances. The next day, Mi shows up without her glasses again, so Komura offers to share his textbook with her, and they merge their tables. Later, Komura asks Mi if she still can't remember where her glasses are, but she says she met someone from her elementary school, and although he told her his name, she can't remember his face. After this, she wonders if constantly forgetting her glasses is finally affecting her memory. Some moments later, while helping the arts teacher to carry some boxes, another classmate named Bucky complains to Komura about her contacts and says she needs to use eye drops. Komura then asks if she ever forgets her contacts, and Bucky asks if he thinks she's me. She then says Me may not need it as much and comments that he's always acting like her dad. Afterward, the teacher announces that they'll be going on summer break, but reminds them that they've got to study for entrance exams. While heading home together, Komura points out that they have to study, so Mi asks if that means they can't hang out too much. When Komura confirms this and adds that he's going on vacation with his family, Mi looks sad. Komura then reminds her not to forget her glasses, but she says she keeps a spare just in case. The next day, Mi shows up with her glasses, and when Komura notices, she explains that she found them in the changing room of a mall where she went shopping. Later, Komura thinks Mi would forget him when she stops forgetting her glasses and wonders how to make her keep remembering him. So on their way home, he suggests they stop by the park. On getting there, Mi decides to try the bars, but realizes she is not wearing shorts this time. So she decides to try the swing instead, but since that won't be any different, she decides to play on the slide. Afterwards, she asks Komura to meet her at the top of the slide, and Komura reluctantly joins her since it's tight up there. Suddenly, she says she wants to look at his face before their break starts the next day. So she places her hands on him while he does the same. As things begin to get intense, Mi takes her hands off him and takes out her phone to send the picture they took at the playground to him. After berating himself for being sweaty, Komura gets excited since Mi has something to remind her of him. Later, Mi tells Komura not to forget her, and as she turns to leave, Komura grabs her and says he'd like to again during the break, so Mi lights up and agrees. This suddenly reminds Komura of a childhood memory where he met a girl at a store, trying to see how much an ice cream costs. After telling her the price, she told him she's got bad eyesight. Concerned, Komura asked if she didn't wear glasses, but she revealed that a boy in her class stole them, and when she told her dad, he said the boy is trying to be her husband. While he felt bad about this, Mi said he's kind, just like her dad, and wished she would marry someone like him. What do you think about Komura's taste in women? Let's know your thoughts in the comments. If you want more videos like this, like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.